Judymay Murphy, all the way from London. Thank you for joining me tonight.
An absolute pleasure. It's early morning for us here.
I was just about to say we're on other sides of the world.
Yeah.
We are going to be presenting our online seminar on the 2nd and 3rd of May, which is Write, Publish, Market, Sell, where we're going to be teaching people how to write a book, how to publish a book, how to market a book, and how to sell a book. Now, can you please just fill us in on some of your experience with writing, with, some of the things that you've done, the people that sort of go, okay, well, who are you and what have you done? Tell us what you've done and why we should listen to you about publishing a book.
And that is such an important question for everybody to ask. Who is this that's telling me this information? Because so often people will come across with so much charisma and so much enthusiasm and so much stuff that sounds right, but then you dig a little bit deeper or you just scratch the surface and you find out that they themselves haven't consistently over time got the results in what they're claiming. So here's my brag. Since 2000, I've had 8 books published in 28 different countries, different kinds of books. So some of them were fiction, some of them were for grown-ups, some of them were for teenagers, some of them, the latest one was a poetry book. I really wanted to prove to people that, you know what, these techniques work for every single kind of book that you can imagine. And as you know, given what I do for a living, I'm a motivational speaker, and I of course have books out that are self-help books. And I've been doing this for such a long time, and the industry has changed. And a lot of the information that's out there is information that would have worked brilliantly in 2002, or really well in 2012, or kind of could have worked 2 years ago. But the thing is that what you need is you need to understand what are the consistent things, the things that are always the guidelines, the things you need to follow to get your result with books, and what are the things that don't exist anymore, that it was at a particular time with a particular way that the industry was going, particular ways that people were reading, that it used to work. And so, this is what I do. And as well as me writing all these books and getting them published with top publishing houses, by the way. I mean, we're not talking just, that I've got a friend down the road who does all this for me. We're talking about people like Random House. We're talking about HCI Books, one of the biggest self-help book publishers in the world, the guys that do the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. We're talking about in each country, O'Brien Press in Ireland, Kaplan Dam in Norway. So plugging into the people who really know what they're doing, so I don't have to be so amazing all the time. I get other amazing people to do a lot of this stuff for me.
Not easy to be published, is it? It's a massive process. It's getting them to discover you and make them think that you're good enough, that your book and your idea is good enough. And not many people get published by a publishing house. So you've had quite a few books published by some of the biggest names in the world. So you're going to be telling people how to do that.
Yeah, how to do that. And then also the really fun thing is that the reason that publishers take people on is because they are at the highest level, that their manuscript is of the highest quality. The actual content, what people are reading, what people are looking at is the absolute best it can be. That the title is exactly what it needs to be. There are 4 different rules to create a really great best-selling, amazing title. And a lot of people are getting it right on 2 of those, and then they're getting it wrong on another 2, and they're wondering why didn't their book take off. The thing is that when you get it right across the board, if you then decide that you would rather self-publish, if you're someone like yourself who is amazing at marketing, like if you're a marketing genius, then you might decide, you know what, it's actually going to be better for me to be my own publisher. But the things that made you publishable by another top publishing house are the things that are going to make you even more of a bestseller when you self-publish. So it's not like you have to make a decision at the beginning, am I going to create a high quality work or am I going to self-publish? That's not an option anymore. It used to be that just because someone knew you, they would buy your book. That is not the case anymore. You've got to be bringing quality. And that's why you don't get to take shortcuts. But we don't want shortcuts. We want to be brilliant. We want to learn. We want to grow.
And we will be showing people how to self-publish as well. And even though like my books behind me there, like they're all self-published, but I've really made sure that they are the best quality that I can do. Like They are like, I'm so pedantic about every single book, and I know you are too, and we'll be showing people how to do that. And also, as we said, you know, the marketing and the selling of the book. So I was going to say too, so like some of the people that you've spoken on stage with, you know, you've spoken with Tony Robbins. Who else have you spoken on stage with? Like you've spoken in front of thousands of people, haven't you?
Yeah, it's kind of what I do. And I often forget to mention things because I sort of think that either people know, but I know in Australia, a lot of people haven't heard me speak. So yeah, over the years, I've done a lot of what we call the big stages. So sort of like 1,000 to 5,000 people. And even from the very early days, I was working with people like Robert Kiyosaki and Tony, as you mentioned. I had my own learning annex tours of the United States. I'm one of the best known speakers in Europe. I do a lot of the Scandinavian stages still, and you know, in the UK, I've always done a lot of stuff on the BBC. I now have my own radio show called Judymays Listening. But yeah, and the interesting thing is that there's a really great tie-in between being on stage and having a book. And as you know as well, the tie-ins between going pro, like really like kicking it in whatever it is that you're kicking it in, and having, like, I always say a book is like a great big calling card, is a great big business card that just says, yeah, you know what, I do have these credentials. But these days, a lot of people have what I would call mock credentials. They come out with like something that's really thin on content and really not great, and it doesn't look great. And you're kind of looking at it and you're like, for some reason, this isn't ringing true for me. And even on the circuit, even on the bigger stages, you've got people doing that. But people know, people can tell quality. And these days, people are a lot more discerning than they were even 3-5 years ago. And they're sort of saying, why? Why is this worthy of my time? Why should I spend time with this person?
Absolutely. So why or who should write a book? I think everybody should write a book, but who do you think should write a book? You know, you've got your people that want to have the credibility. You've got people, yeah, you know, explain to me who should write a book. Who do you think?
Well, it depends on what you want. You've got to do it from that point of view. Please don't write a book because you think that somehow you haven't caught up with everybody in your profession unless you've had a particular kind of book. Your book needs to be in the service of your dream. It's not your time in the service of your book. It is your book in the service of your dream. So if your dream is that you would like to make your elderly mother really, really happy by creating a book that is a history of her family, you know, or maybe even like a novel using the history of her family, that she feels that her legacy has been captured, and that, you know, when she passes away, that there's a part of her is going to carry on in that book. If that is what is really resonating with you, that's what you need to do. If you are maybe on the other end of the scale saying, you know what, all I want to do is get some eyes on me. What I really want to do is I want to kind of have my book go, hey, I'm over here, I'm doing cool stuff. Follow me. That's great, but you need to write a very different kind of book. And a lot of people, they don't get the genre right, or if they don't get the kind of book right, if that book isn't really connected with what will make them feel great, then it's too long a process and they'll start to shortcut the process or abandon it. So this is why it's absolutely vital. We always talk about our big enough why. You need to know what, you know, not just know intellectually, well, this would be a good idea for a book, because you need to feel it. You need to be like, oh my God, I'm actually doing my book. Oh my God, I now have a structure. I've worked with Judymay and Lisa, and I now know exactly what I'm doing on this day. I now know how to come up with my title. I now know exactly which publishing houses I'm approaching. I know exactly what to say to them when I'm approaching them. And from that point of view, you can be fired up rather than a book. This is what I don't want. I don't want people to be sitting there dutifully going, oh, I better do my book today. I better get an hour of writing done. That's no way to live. That's no way to make a dream come true.
I don't understand writer's block. I don't, because the books that I've written, I've been so passionate about them, and you know, I've made notes. You know, every day I just make notes, and I go back and then I add something in, and you know, because it's been a passion, every single one of my books. And probably what I'd like to do is probably just give some people some ideas, and then if we can go.
Yeah.
So I did the first book that I was in, a compilation book with Fiona Jones. She's lovely, and one of the Real Estate Millionaire books. And that was where I decided that, well, it was just the opportunities that books gave me that I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, you know, and that sort of gave me the vision and the excitement and the passion to want to create my own books. So from that, I did Banish the Bitch and Bring Out the Babe. And that was a book that I worked on for 10 years. And that was something like I'd make notes and I studied it. I lived it, breathed it. It was masculine and feminine energy. And that was something I get so excited about, I can't even say it.
I love that book. I love it.
And that was something that I had to get that book out. I had to publish that book. So I did that one. Then from that, I said to Max, oh, you know, I've got a book out and everything. And he said, oh, can I do a book too? And I said, I've got exactly the right book for you. And then that's when I did the book for him, which was, as you mentioned, The Legacy with my mum. So my mum wrote a poem. Then I got Max to do all the, help me do all the pictures, and he had a say in everything. And then we did a colouring in book in the back and everything, because he never met his grandparents. He never met my grandmother and my mother and my father. So it's sort of like, that's my caricature of Max and my grandmother, so my mother. So that's like a legacy to my mum that I promised her on a deathbed.
And how old was Max when you did that with him?
He was 9. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's something that, you know, that was just something, you know, it brought tears to my eyes that I could connect Max and my mother together. Then the other book that I did was a real estate book, which was, you know, for my profession, my trade is real estate. That was a book that I did independently from me. And then the other 2 books I did as a compilation book with other real estate agents, because I wanted other people to be able to have a book that weren't going to do it themselves. You know, people say, I'll write a book, and then they don't do it. So I was able to get, you know, another 30 something people to be able to say that they're a published author. So that was something that that really drove me as well, to be able to have other people in books. So that was kind of my story, my history of books. So what books have you written? I've read Your Life, but Your Life, but a Gazillion Times Better?
Yeah, that's it. Your Life Only a Gazillion Times Better. But before that, I had my first novel out. So my history is actually quite academic. I have a master's in literature from Trinity College, and I had been a playwright, and I wrote for television and film. And then my first book was a novel, like a piece of literary fiction. And because I didn't know what I was doing, it took me 5 years to write. It doesn't need to take that long, even to write a kind of a thick work of literary fiction. And that's why I created this system of, knowing what it is, where does everything go? What is the structure? So that you can actually be free to play, and you can be free to be more artistic. So after that came out Your Life Only a Gazillion Times Better. And that got picked up really quickly. First, it was published in Ireland. And one of the things I teach people is, what order of country or territory, as we call it, do you get published in? And then it got published in America, and then in the UK, and then suddenly it just took off. So a lot of the contracts that I signed, and again, this is something that we'll be teaching you how to know about, the contracts that I signed meant that as well as having, say, a deal in America, they also acted as my agent for getting the book published in places like Mexico, Canada, in that part of the world. And so suddenly I was getting these books arriving in the post. I remember getting a copy of Your Life Only a Gazillion Times Better, and it was in Indonesian. And I was just like, what? That was the very first foreign language copy that I got. And I think the second one was the Spanish one, and the third one was something else. But it's so fun when you just, like, you don't have to do the translation. They take care of everything. And you're looking at it and you're just like, oh my gosh, all these people are going to be able to read my work, and I don't even speak their language. So after that one, there was 4 teenage books, Copper Girl, Blue Lavender Girl, Hazelwood Girl, and Diamond Star Girl. And they were for young teenagers, so 13-year-old, 14-year-old girls. And there was, so it was kind of written as a novel, but it was with teaching principles in it. But I teach people how do you communicate the genre? Because a lot of people say, I want to do a book that's both this and this. And we teach them how to you know, kind of sneak in the bit that you want to sneak in. So I kind of snuck in the coaching through the back door, and girls just thought they were reading amazing novels, and they'd be sending me little cards through the post saying, or on Bebo back then, I get all these messages. Do you remember Bebo? And to this day, actually, it's still going strong in a lot of different countries. That was hugely popular in translation in the Scandinavian countries, so all the girl books, and in Spain and places like that. And then what was after that? Sleeping Your Way to Success, another self-help book all about how to use the unconscious mind and how to maximize your sleep time. And then the latest one, I think I'm leaving one out, but anyway, the latest one is called Monster Proof Poetry, and it's a poetry book, but each poem is like that. You go to the index and you work out what is the problem that you're having right now, and each poem kind of solves a problem. So you can see that you can stay on brand and still like publish across quite a broad spectrum. And so a lot of people say, oh, I don't know whether to write this kind of book or this kind of book. And I always say, you know what? Write the one you want to write first. Like, we can all get clever later on. Write the one that you want to write first, because then it's kind of like if you have someone, a person that you adore, you will walk down the street in the rain in order to go meet them for a cup of tea. But if it's someone that you're kind of like, well, they're kind of interesting and I should go and meet them, you're not going to walk down the street in the rain. So on those days where you've been doing lots of other awesome stuff and you're feeling like, you know what, I'll write tomorrow. No, you know what, I really want to go work on this today.
Yes, exactly. When you're passionate enough about it, you just, it just pulls you, doesn't it? It really does.
Oh, completely. I've had so many times where I've been like, you know, it's been Sunday morning. I've been like, you know what, I could just kind of snuggle down and lie here for a little bit longer. And then suddenly it'll come into my head, an idea or something I can change around, something I can rewrite, a word I can add to the title that'll make it even more on point for the 4 rules. And I am literally leaping out of bed. And that's what we want. We want you to just feel magnetized towards this.
Absolutely. So what else are we going to be showing people? What are some things that the mistakes that people make when they publish books or...
There are so many mistakes that people make. From people start writing a book the way that you read a book. They write a book in the wrong voice for that genre. I honestly, there's about 100 things that I could mention. So what I've done is I've created the system so that you can just avoid all those mistakes. So you'll understand, why is it you wouldn't do this? A lot of people think that things make sense. Oh, I'll do this now. Like, oh, I've written, they'll say something like, I've written my book. Now I'll phone the publisher. And it's just like, no, there's so much stuff that you have to have ready for a start. You don't call it a book, because for publishers, a book is a physical thing that's an end product. If you tell them that you have a book, they'll think it was already published. They'll be confused. You got to say manuscript, tiny little things like that. There's so many of them. But once you know them, I call it avoiding no. So they will see you as a pro. They'll see you as a professional. They won't see anything that will get in the way of them publishing you. They will just be like, oh yeah, great title. Oh yeah, great genre. Okay. Oh yeah, the voice matches. Oh yeah, the chapters are balanced. Oh yeah, like all the things that you're going to be learning, they'll get that. Then they'll get the proposal and they'll be like, okay, cool. They've shown me this. They've shown me this. They've shown me their marketing suggestions. They've shown me that there's enough that the press are going to be able to write about them. They've shown me like all the different things. There's 5 different sections that go into having a proposal. A lot of people think it's just the manuscript plus a covering letter. No. It's very, very precise. And when you show them that you know how to do the job, even if there's 1 or 2 things that you've slipped up on, 1 or 2 things that have kind of fallen through the cracks, you'll get a pass on those, because overall they'll see that this is viable, but this is you working in the industry, not being an amateur who is kind of like hoping that maybe you'll take them on. And a lot of their day is trying to let amateurs down gently. And the difference between a professional and an amateur are those little just things, those like, as I say, structural details. Yeah, exactly. So that's what we take people through.
Like you say, I mean, they get so many, they're looking for the no, aren't they? It's like that, nah, you know, that one, oh, yes. And if it's all the yeses, then you've progressed. If there's 1 no, it could mean the difference between not getting published and getting published, couldn't it?
Absolutely. And right down to like the detail on it is things like, you know, making sure that when they have a meeting where they literally sit around with just piles of manuscripts, and they literally like have to cull it down to about like maybe 20% of them. So these are ones that have already gotten this far. And it's kind of like, you know, those talent shows, like, have you got Australia's Got Talent?
Yes.
It's kind of like that. It's just like it gets whittled down. And so I have it that people make sure that even when they're not in the room, when it's the publishers deciding, how do they make sure that they make the cut? You know, what is it that's going to bring them over the edge? So yeah, just tons and tons of detail like that.
So what would you say to somebody who's sitting on the fence, who's like, you know, will I do this or not? Will I write a book? Will I attend the event? What would you say?
Oh, do you know what I'd say? I'd say, do you really want to live life like that? Really? Is that how you want to show up with life? Because you got to get yourself in there. I've had people who've done this and have decided because of this that they're actually not going to write a book. They've decided, okay, I can see the commitment now, but I also see that all these different ways of thinking, my thinking is better, my way of feeling, my way of approaching life is better, and I'm going to go and do this other thing instead. So I would say, what, you think you're going to live till 500 years old? You know, if right now you don't have a better idea of how to bring it and how to go higher, then you know, why not do this? This is something that is going to grow you, and it might be that it then gets you to a point where you are stronger, you're a better thinker, you are more involved in your own life, that you are showing up for your dream. Right now, Lisa, like you and I, we're showing up for other people's dream. And if myself and Lisa are showing up for your dream and you're not, what does that say about your dream? Maybe you're not dreaming big enough. Maybe you're not dreaming hard enough. Maybe, you know, maybe it's time to, you know, get off the fence, because if you're on the fence with this, you're probably on the fence with a lot of things. And it's much more fun when you're actually in the arena, getting stuff done, getting strong, getting those results, living the life. And it's very doable for everybody.
Exactly. And it's something like, you know, when you do video marketing or you do books, it's amazing the opportunities that open up. People that didn't know about you before, all of a sudden you're on their radar, and the opportunities that come up that you would never even dream of, you know, and that's
Oh yeah.
Do, you know.
Stage opportunities, TV opportunities, opportunities to hang out with the people that you admire, you know, at book festivals. You've got different, you know, politicians, performers, author, like, you know, literary fiction authors, you know, people that you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here hanging out with this person. One time I was in a signing line with people who had produced a movie that I loved. Another time I was in a signing line, like, so we're all sitting on a table and we've got big long queues of people and we're signing copies of our books, but there's a few of us sitting at that table. You know, I've been in one of those situations with this neuroscientist who I absolutely adore. So, you know, it does, it just elevates you like you would not believe.
Exactly. And something I said to somebody today, it's like, you know, we're going through this lockdown now, and, you know, most of the world is locked in their house. And I'm of the opinion that I don't want to come out of this without something to show for it. You know, I really want to say that I made that time work. I don't want to be thinking, please give me another pandemic, you know, thing that I can, I promise I won't waste the time this time. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, we've got this time, do something with it and make it work, and say I actually achieved that big goal during that time. You know, it wasn't all doom and gloom. It was something that you actually took the time and did this, and now you've got a book to show for it.
Absolutely, because there are some people who are having such a tough time in lockdown that, you know, that their achievement is just getting through it. But for those of us who are blessed enough to be able to have, you know, the time and the space and this opportunity in order to make something amazing happen, you know, it would be such a shame if we have that opportunity and we're not taking it.
So it's the 2nd and 3rd of May, and it's live wherever you are in the world. So it's an online course, and it's 4 hours each day. And yeah, I can't wait to actually show people, you know, and have you present, and I'm going to learn a lot too. And I just can't wait. I really can't.
And I can't wait to learn all the marketing stuff from you, because, you know, you're known worldwide for that. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Looking forward to meeting everybody.
Thanks, Judymay.